Lewinsky trailing after the loose puck. Takes it to the side of the net. Out front, Budnick scores! Less than a second to go, and the Frontenacs take a 1-goal lead on the goal by Thomas Budnick, his first Ontario Hockey League goal.
How was your second first season? I think you referred to it as a little while ago there.
You know, I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about how to grow as a young man. I think that's something that the league has taught me is being with older guys. I think they definitely helped me grow into my shoes a little bit and maybe assume a role that I was very happy with working for at the end of the year. Going in, I knew the systems pretty well. Talking to coaches a lot, they did a wonderful job keeping in contact with me through COVID, through Zoom calls, and making sure I understood everything. So going in that first year, it was pretty easy. I don't want to say in the aspect of the game of hockey, but it was definitely easy being welcomed into the team.
What surprised you the most about yourself during your experience last season?
I think I was most surprised with myself is how I was able to push through some adversity. That's one of the things I think that the league has taught me is that I'm much more capable of than what I limit myself to as a person. And sometimes I feel that I set some limitations on myself, and being able to work and work through certain moments and having certain times test my character. I think I was surprised with how I responded personally and how well the support staff was allowing me to respond in a certain manner and allowing me to conduct myself very maturely and get through those tough times.
With the older guys on the team and your first round through there, what role do you want to take on with the younger guys coming in now that you're kind of gravitating to one of those older guy spots?
I think it's important that they figure out what they're going to do in life and what role they want to assume. And as an older guy coming in, I just want to be someone they can go to support and maybe ask a question about. I don't want to force them into believing a certain thing or thinking a certain way. I think it's important that they develop themselves as their own person and guide themselves into manhood a little bit. But being older, having experience, even if it's 1 year, 2 years, just having a little more experience, giving them some wisdom, maybe some advice and what helped me get through certain moments and certain plays in games, and just being a role model they can hopefully look up to and confide in.
And one of the things that I learned from talking to all of you guys last season, your kind of phrase in the dressing room was, don't get too high, don't get too low. What does that mean to you?
That means that, some days you're not going to feel your best. You're not going to be performing at your best. It's just a reality. You're a human being. No one's perfect. You can't be, no matter how hard you work or how hard you try. And on the opposite scale of that is, how you are when you're high and you're scoring it every night. You point a game or you're doing something really well every night. And I think it's important that you don't gravitate towards one side. Maybe you gravitate towards the side of being super good every night, and maybe you start to get a little too eager, a little too cocky, or you gravitate towards being down on yourself, and I think that can destroy your confidence as a person. So I think staying even keel, it's all, and something that stuck with me is that it's all about the next shift, and that's a motto I grew up with, learning with my dad, is it's all about the next shift. You have a real good shift. Great, that's in the past. It's all about what you're going to do next. Build off of it. You have a terrible turnover, you fall down. Great, get up. It's all about what you do next shift. So I think being able to stay even keel, keeping a very monotone mindset and not showing a lot of emotion towards the game and certain aspects, I think that's super important to keep in a steady game.
You always kind of gravitate back towards your family and the influence they have on you. What did they have to say to you when you got back home this summer?
It was great to see them again. Family's a big part of who I am. My town's a big part of who I am. I always go back to people in my town and my family for things of advice I'm struggling with. And when I got back, it was great to see them. Same time, my dad pleased with the way I grown up, being away from him, not being able to monitor me as much and being a father figure, but still, I think he was pleased to see how I matured, I hope. And at the same time, he was already pushing me to be a better person and be a better hockey player, starting to think about, how I'm gonna treat my body, how I'm going to eat, how I'm going to do all that to perform at the next level and maybe take that next step when it comes time.
And if you were to take a look back on yourself as you were in this situation last year, just about to start wrapping up the preseason, what advice would you give to yourself?
At the end of the day, if you can look yourself in the mirror and say you gave it your all, regardless of ice time, regardless of what role you're in, regardless of how things are going outside of hockey, if you're able to look yourself in the mirror and say, I worked as hard as I could, I pushed myself, I stayed disciplined, I stayed motivated. I think that's all that matters, because at the end of the line, you as a man, you have three things: your character, integrity, and how true you are to yourself. So I think if you're able to validate your own actions, I think that's a big part in staying mentally focused and how your perspective will drive your performance.
If there's something that you're proud of about yourself or something that you've achieved that you don't get to talk about too much, what would that be?
I'm very proud that I'm able to continue my academic career and being accepted to Queens and being a Queens student and taking a class load and a course load while playing hockey. I think that in many instances of life, you never know what's going to happen. As terrible it is to say, a lot of things out of your control. So something does happen. I think it's very important that you have an education to fall back on, and I'm proud of myself with being able to stay disciplined and knowing that hockey is one thing, but life is a whole different beast. So keeping on top of my academics and education, I am very proud in myself with that.